I've got to get some more done. The last one was like it's like I played through Rampage. I want to record it. I ain't got much to say about it. It's like
It's
it's gonna be a 2 second video.
it's a monotonous game. I mean, that's what it is. Levels vary, not much. Buildings are in a couple of different places.
I can't remember if it had like the full 256 levels. It might have to have a level for every damn little bit of RAM that could fit in the Nintendo.
Yeah, like for every level was a kilobyte.
And then but yeah, I love doing reviews. I just got what I got to do is I got to do like a shit ton of them, and then just having things stacked in, ready to go, and so I don't got to worry about it. I'm just behind. Is all it is. People like the Metroid review. I thought that hell, the most hate I've ever gotten for any video I've done was about freaking emulating the Metroid on Nintendo Switch. People hated that shit. But no, they liked my opinion of Metroid 1. But, yeah, it's freaking in Metroid 1, you're like, you're lost the whole damn game, and then you can't shoot guys that are below you. I don't know how much of you that you played. You have to switch to a bomb or get the wave.
I played way more Metroid 1 than I spent like 90% of the game lost and the other 10% trying to beat it.
It's hard.
I never actually beat that game. I could get in the mother brain, and then I would get frustrated and run out of missiles, and then just be pissed. Because I would always take the ice beam with me, and I don't know if that was the best thing to take.
No.
Yeah, I always figured later on in life, I was like, I only took the ice beam for the Metroids.
Yeah, because you had it. You had to have it for them.
Yeah. So it's like, but once you get in there with her, it's like, maybe I should have brought the freaking wave gun.
No, you have to use. You have to be full on. Was it 255 missiles or whatever it is?
You had to be full on. If you went in there without full on, it was like you're just pissing in the wind.
And then I do specifically remember they would have more than one ice beam. I don't know if there was more than one wave beam, but you could run. You would get the ice beam, I think, first, but you can get the wave beam, run it for the majority of the game, and then it's time to fight Mother Brain, and then switch back to ice by just getting another power up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Super Metroid is just way freaking better. Like phenomenally better, and so since I do my Nintendo review and I recommend a damn game that I didn't even have the review for. But yeah, I love doing those reviews. I got to keep them quick. I try to get them in like 5 minutes, like snap, snap, snap. I just did Mickey Mousecapade, which I haven't played through in so damn long, but I know I beat it. I don't know how much would you ever play that?
Oh yeah, I had it.
I had this like a Mandela effect in my brain that somehow that there was a secret you could do to get a player 2 to be mini, and that's not true. But in my brain, I'm like, I knew there was a player 2 players in that game.
I just remember Minnie was the one that you would use to kill most of the bosses by getting her to go up the ladder, and you go down the ladder, and she stay up there and start shooting.
Yeah, something like that.
I remember doing that on the pirate. I remember that you could level select with the it was in the manual, and I remember the level select thing where you could go to different levels, but that shit was like a damn maze of like, just find it, especially like in the, I guess it was it Alice in Wonderland? It's where it was like the garden or whatever, and it's like it would be spring and then summer and then fall. It was like it went through the seasons, but it was like a fucking maze.
Yeah. I do remember that now, but at the time I was doing a review, I only remembered the first level, which is like 4 film screens, and then the freaking
the house,
the flood part. I mean, or the water where you're getting killed by the waves.
Oh yeah, the waves.
Yeah, that's where you would get filtered out as a kid. You get to the damn waves and just get destroyed.
I like the pirate ship level. That one was pretty fun. It was short, but it was fun.
That's the last one, right?
No, the last one was the castle.
Okay.
With what's her name at the very end, and that was a damn maze itself. But no, I remember specifically getting that for Christmas and being disappointed because I asked for Batman for Nintendo and I got Mickey Mousecapades.
It's right in this.
It was just like, Jesus Christ. I mean, it wasn't a terrible game, but it wasn't fucking Batman.
Yeah, I'm going down the alphabetical list, so I'm right down at the S's now. So I've done a review for Super Contra. I put it up, and I've got to do reviews for the Super Mario Brothers, and I've done the what you do, the footage that I would use like right here for the background. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's almost like, what do you say about? I guess I would give more anecdotes than about my experience playing it, and then actually talk about. We could talk about how the jump is slightly different in Mario 3 versus 1, or I don't know. We'll just press the freaking go button and just record it.
Just talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You gonna do The Simpsons?
I have not beat The Simpsons without the Game Genie. I beat versus the Space Mutants with the Game Genie.
There were so many freaking I just remember getting pissed off at the T-Rex fight. I think that's as far as I ever made it, was the T-Rex fight. I think it was a T-Rex. Wasn't there like a museum level, and you had to jump on invisible blocks to actually get to where you could shoot him, and if you didn't know where those invisible blocks were, you couldn't do shit.
Yeah, I want to say it was a mall. I could be wrong.
There was a mall as a second level, I think.
Yeah.
And then I do remember there was something that was like a museum or something. I want to say it was a T-Rex, but like I said, this is like fucking 35 years ago. And I just remember there was a lot of invisible blocks in that game.
Versus a Space Mutant. Not the no. What was it? Nightmare. Nightmare is the one I played on Super Nintendo that I liked when it had the little mini games.
Yeah. That one wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Versus Bartman versus meets Radioactive Man was terrible also.
So was the third one or the second one?
I don't know if it's the second or third one, but it had the same gimpy ass controls and the same kind of shit, you know.
Yeah. They put the game out. It's not very good, but because it has Bart on it, people get excited and play the shit out of it. So holy moly, look, it's done. It's they like this first slop. Let's cook some more out.
Yeah, I think there was like Krusty's Fun House, which I think was
a Super Nintendo. It might have been on Nintendo as well.
It might have been Nintendo as well, but I think that one was different. There was another one. There was Bart versus the Space Mutants, Bart versus the World, and then I think Bart Man meets Radioactive Man. But all three of them had like that gimpy ass, like you're running on like ice or something, sliding around shit.
They try to be like the first Super Mario Brothers, and they just don't get the momentum right or whatever.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah. But anyway, we're not supposed to be talking about retro games, sir. We're supposed to be talking about Diablo 4. So I didn't. This is the first one where I didn't get the expansion. Besides the original one, which didn't work on my freaking Windows 95 Pentium 75 hertz. I didn't even try to get it because you had to have Windows 95 for the first Diablo. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to run that shit. I was like, why don't I go to DOS? So this is the first one that I'm so pissed off, and I can rage about that all along, but I'm going to let you talk about the expansion because I haven't played the damn thing.
Is it really an expansion, or is it just like another season with a character added in?
Is that what you think? That's what you think it is?
It's got a campaign, but so do most of the damn seasons. But what they did, and like you remember when you played Diablo 4 before, and they had the map area. Mm-hmm. They opened up a new area of the map, which is very reminiscent of Diablo 3. In fact, they actually copy. You go back to the same Durance of Hate level 3 where you fight Mephisto. They actually copy that completely into the game. And it's kind of cool. You're like, oh, cool, you fight Mephisto here in Diablo 2. But then you find out later there is no fucking Mephisto to fight because they didn't put him in it.
Spoilers, by the way, but go for it, bro.
Spoilers alert, there is no fucking Diablo in this game or fucking Mephisto. I mean, the whole Diablo 4 thing made you feel like they were aiming toward Mephisto. They talk about Mephisto. Everything about him.
He has cutscenes and shit.
He has cutscenes and everything. And then the final boss of the expansion is not Mephisto. It's storyline-wise, I'm sure he has a name and a reason, but why wouldn't you just put fucking Mephisto in there?
Would it be like called Aspect of Mephisto? Do you fight a dog, right?
It's like some big-ass fucking dog that you'll never fight again, and it's completely forgettable. It's like it's an extra character, a complete rework of how a lot of stuff works. Like everything you did prior to this, just throw it out the fucking window. It doesn't matter. I know you would love that.
No, I'm the game developers, the gameplay, it's schizophrenic.
It's basically like how fast can I clear the screen? Is pretty much what it's come down to, which was kind of what Diablo 3 had gotten to, which is great. I like massive, big, lots of things going on, But the problem is a lot of the characters, you get to the point where, like a sorceress, for instance, there's so much shit going on the screen you can't even tell what's going on because there's just shit everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like going to cause you to have like an epileptic seizure or some shit.
When I turned the damn numbers, the damage numbers off the screen, I felt so much better.
Oh yeah, I had to turn the numbers off like way back in the day, especially once it got to the point where people were hitting like billions, and like some of those characters were hitting like trillions, and it's just like, and then what they did was they tried to simplify it. So instead of it pointing out like 1,999,999,000, they did like 1B, 1M, 200K, stuff like that. So at least they nailed that down. But it's easier just turn the fucking numbers off. Just don't even, you just attack stuff until stuff stops moving and then move on. They did open up a pretty good portion of the map, so I mean, I give them that for it. But the campaign is just like the campaign of almost every season. Every season has like a little bit of like a throw-in campaign, to introduce you into the new shit of the season. And then every season they pick and choose what they like and what they don't like, throw it out the window. There's a couple of things this season that I can already tell you they're throwing out the window. You can just tell by the way people don't play it.
Now, explain what's going on with the nightmare dungeons, the regular dungeons. People don't even do the regular dungeons anymore, right?
No, I mean, you can if you want the aspects on them, but there's no reason. Nightmare dungeons used to be what you would do to upgrade your glyphs. So you would, do a nightmare dungeon, and you would have different levels of nightmare dungeons. Now all nightmare dungeons are all the same level, but they changed the difficulties. So basically, before it was like tier 1, 2, 3, whatever. But now, and then there's like an easy or a hard when you're first getting your level character up. Now it's like there's like an easy, or not an easy, but there's like normal, and then there's like a hard, and then there's a couple of more in between until you get to the torment levels. And then like on nightmare dungeons, I think you can do nightmare some of that stuff you can't do until you get certain levels, which they changed. It's no longer level 100. It's now level 60.
60, yeah.
And what they did was, before, when you got to level 50, you stopped getting skill points and you started getting Paragon points. And you got like 4 Paragon points per level. And by the time you got to level 100, you'd maxed out your Paragon points for your Paragon board. And then you had your 50, I think you had 60 skill points by the time you did like renown points and everything, give or take 50 or 60. Anyway, but now it's like you got 10 more skill points that you can use on your build. And then once you get to level 60, your level bar turns into a Paragon bar, and you go all the way up through Paragons up to level 300, which is like absurd.
I heard it's hard to get.
It's not meant to be easily to get to. It's like it's like I've been playing all season it's been out basically a month, and it's like I mean, I don't play every day and I don't play multiple hours a day, but I mean, I'm not even level 200 yet. And the developers basically said, when you get to level 250, you're halfway to level 300. So the last 50 are like really grindy. And from what I've seen, the only people that really got to level 300 already are ones that were taking advantage of like an exploit, XP exploit. So it's kind of like
they tried to go back to the way it was in vanilla.
They tried to go back to Diablo 2 is what they tried to do, because on the going back to the difficulties, before the difficulties was it would go up, would just amplify the monster's life, defenses, resistances, whatever. Now what it is not only does it do that, but it takes a percentage of your armor and your resistances off, kind of like Diablo 2 did. You remember how like you could be maxed in normal, but once you went to Nightmare, you might be like 25 points below max, and then once you went to Hell, you might be like 50 below max or whatever. Same thing here. It's like there's a percentage it drops per difficulty that you go up.
Well, I understand why they did it, because in season 4, you're getting toward the end and you're putting in your gems or whatever, and it's like there was a points where it's like if you had because you couldn't put life in them no more. It's like it was either defense or resistance, and there was a point it's like, bro, I'm maxed out on all that stuff. These are effectively a waste of time.
Oh yeah, it was like season 5, I think 4 or 5. I was running around with a sword that could do, or a wizard, that could do anything, and she didn't even have anything in socketed in like her armor in her jewelry at all because I already had maxed out resist and maxed out armor.
Yeah.
Um, it got a little crazy around season 5 though, where you could have like there was people running around like 50, 60,000 life, and they kind of like railed that back to like normal numbers of like kind of like okay, armor max armor back then was like 10,000, now it's 1,000. So they just kind of scaled everything back, I think, because it was just getting so kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Uh,
Back there's this game RPG called Disgaea, and it's like an old school art Japanese, and it was like what was it tried to do was like, oh, you could be doing tons and tons of damage, but Diablo 3 was doing more damage than this guy would do, and it wasn't even a parody, it was just how it was. And then
yeah, exactly. It'd be like I don't need to see that I'm doing 1 million damage. I could be doing 100 damage, but if the monster only has like 200 life, then yeah, it's going to take 2 hits to kill it. It's just like it's like people like big numbers, people like big damage. Let's just exponentially just make it crazy.
yeah.
And I think they were like, oh, we got to rail this back in a little bit.
And what was funny playing through, and I know they fixed this, but you would be playing through your basic overworld, and everything you look at is like exploding, just becomes looking at it. And then I would go to what is the greater rift variance in the pit, and then all of a sudden everything's taking a bazillion down. It's the same fucking monsters. I'm doing the same skills, but now they just don't die, and they're still, the numbers say 75 bazillion. I was like, well, what does 75 bazillion even mean under that system? Now I know they honed it all down to try to make it comparable, but it was it was dumb.
It was ridiculous. You'd go in there, and it was like, especially on the pits, they changed up the pits a little bit too. The pits became where you went to do your glyphs. When you upgrade a glyph, you went to the pits, which originally the pits were to get resources to mastercraft your items, which is basically like, instead, you remember back when you probably played, they had upgrading.
Yeah.
They got rid of upgrading completely. Now they have master crafting, where like on uniques you can mastercraft it, and what it is, you put in like 4 realms that basically it goes up to 12, but every 4 levels, like one of the skills or whatever, one of the things on it would like increase like exponentially. So like if you had something that had like 2 to fireball, that 2 could become a 3 to fireball.
Yeah.
And then it's sometimes, if depending on what it is, if you got lucky, it would hit that 3 times in a row, like all 3. And you could, spend gold or whatever and, reset it if you didn't like what it went on. But so it was kind of one of those things. But that was one of the only ways to get those materials. Now you can get those materials way easier in other places, and they turned the pits into leveling up your glyphs, which they changed completely also. On the Paragon board, they locked it at 5 boards. If you remember how you could add boards to it.
I hate those, but go ahead. I hated them. I thought they were stupid.
They were stupid. It got ridiculous because I remember if you looked online, some of these people had plotted these boards out like fucking damn serial killers. It was like fucking crazy. And it would be like, I got 7 glyphs on this one board, and it would be like they'd have, that was crazy. So now they were like, look, you're going to be limited to only 5. You can only attach 5 boards. That means you can only have 5 glyphs. But yeah, people would rotate them around where they could just go it'd be like 15 points. You could catch a glyph and go right to the next freaking board. You know?
And it became, well, what about all the other stuff? Well, that stuff didn't matter because
none of that shit
optimized to get to the glyph where actual power was.
That's all that mattered. People would bypass the legendary one. They would just go straight for the glyph, level that up. And the old glyphs before the expansion maxed out at 21, and they would get bigger at level 15. So basically you wanted to get them all to at least level 15, and then you could just max them out to 21. But 15 was like, that was the minimum. Well, they changed that. Now to upgrade the glyphs, to make them bigger, you have to upgrade them to level 45, and to max them out, you have to go to level 100, which even on 5 is like, that's a lot of damn work.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is a lot of damn work to do this shit. And one thing Blizzard has not been clear on yet that everybody's figuring will be okay next season, which is starting in January. that they have not confirmed that Paragon levels are going to carry over from season to season. Now on the old ones, when season be over, that character goes to the Eternal Realm. But once you got the new character on the new season, once you got to level 100, you would get all. You would just by the time you got to 100, you'd have maxed out Paragons. So every season you would just take a character up to 100, which wasn't really that hard. You could do it in less than a week if you really wanted to.
It was still, the problem I have with that was it was still more effort than say Diablo 3, and if you continuously every few season having to start from scratch, then this
you will stop doing seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it. I mean, that's why me and Will and Gary would take breaks. It's like they'd be like, "Oh, this season we're going to stay season 5. I think we stayed on Eternal." It was like one of those, like, if you try to play every season, you will get burned out real fast. But it's kind of like you'd be like, "Oh, this season looks okay," and it's like maybe we'll jump. Like season 3 was not that great, and we jumped in on season 3, and it was like, yeah.
Well, that was the one you were just sitting in one room getting Duriel shit, right? I think so.
That was one of them, but it was also the one where they had the vaults where you would kind of go and you had to dodge through stuff, and every time you got hit by something, you would wager against yourself. You would like get these little, let's just say fragments or whatever the fuck they were called. You would be like, all right, at this shrine, I can click on it 10 times and get 100 worth of these things. And every time I get hit, I'm going to lose and not just from monsters, but from like the booby traps. It was like Temple of Doom shit where stuff's flying across the damn screen and you're trying to kill monsters, but you can't see shit because you got damn fucking blizzards and damn meteors coming down at the same time. And every time you get hit, you'd lose like 1 or 2. So by the time you got done, you wagered on yourself that you had enough to open up these chests at the end, and one of them was like a 50, which had a better chance of having better items, and the other ones had like lesser grade, but they only cost like 20. The idea was you wanted to have enough when you got done at the end of the run to open everything.
Didn't you guys play? Best way to play was just hide in the corner or something like that?
Yeah, we'd get in the corner and just. I mean, as long as you weren't a barbarian like Willie was, it's like, you just hide in the corner and cast shit over and over and over again. And as a barbarian, you would just get in the center and hope that you didn't take too many hits, like from the actual. I mean, that's what it came. And the thing was, it was not very entertaining. And sure enough, after that season,
Diablo 4.
It was gone. This season they introduced. I forget what they call it. I don't think a lot of people are doing it, but it's you have to have at least 2 people to do it. Basically, you go in these freaking rooms, and like one of you has to stand on something to open a gate while the other one goes in, and then that person and then they kind of go around, and then you do some fucking stupid ass Resident Evil shit where you have to like stand in one spot and hit a damn thing across the room.
That's not season, is it? That's their expansion gameplay for the raid thing. Am I wrong?
Well, the thing is from what I can tell, hardly anybody's doing it, and you have a week before it resets, and you have to do all 3 dungeons. And the last time I was in one, I just said, you know what, I don't even give a shit anymore, and I just left.
Yeah.
It was like so damn annoying.
How long does it take to do I mean, it's the closest they call to what they would call a raid. How long does it take to do one?
I think it's like about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So it's like you kind of...
In Diablo terms, that would be a long time.
That's a long fucking time. I mean, it's like 30, 40 minutes of that. It's like... And once you go in, like, that's it. You're committed. You better stay in. And it's just... It was more of a hassle. You know what I mean? And the problem was the payoffs weren't good either. In Diablo terms, if you're going to go spend 30 minutes doing one thing, you better get some really good shit out of it. Because you could go kill freaking Duriel and Dariel. In 30 minutes, you could kill them 30 times. So in 30 times, you're probably going to get a mythic unique. So you better pretty much get a mythic unique every time you go in one of those fucking raid things.
It'd have to be worth it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing they did. Another thing they changed. They changed up a lot of aspects. They changed up a lot of the uniques. They changed the uber uniques to mythic uniques. And they also introduced ruins for good and bad.
I heard they suck.
They're interesting. I like the way they work. I just don't think they're as useful as they could be. But what I don't like about them is what they did about crafting uniques. They started a few seasons ago where you could get resplendent sparks. And if you killed like the Echo of Lilith, you get a resplendent spark. If you complete some long seasonal journey thing that would
Yeah,
take you
yeah.
like weeks, you get a resplendent spark. Or if you salvaged a mythic unique, you would get one. And originally, if you had 4 of those, you could make any one of the ones you wanted. And then they changed it to like 3, I think is what they dropped it down to. So basically, it's like, look, if you're grinding and you need a Shaco and you keep getting like Tyrael's Might, well, you could salvage those and make what you want, which was, good.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
They changed it this season because they wanted to include ruins, that you only need 2 resplendent sparks to make a mythical unique, but you need 6 of certain ruins, 3 different levels, because there's like, let's just say the blue magic ones, the rare yellow ones, and then there's like the legendary ones that are like harder to find.
Yeah.
And they all have certain ones they require. So you might have to have like 6 jaws and like 6 some other things and 6 some other things. It's easier to find the freaking mythic unique you want than it is to actually craft one.
They made it too rare to get.
They made it too much trouble.
Yeah.
Because and the only way, I mean, you can re-roll your ruins, like you can craft them. Like say you got 3 like Neph ruins or whatever, you can like craft them into another ruin. But that eventually, if you just keep doing that, you get a bunch of shit you don't need. You just it's just it's one of those that's too much fucking trouble.
Yeah. My suspicion about all that shit is that they made the expansion. They want people to play the expansion more than them 2 weeks, and so they're going to stretch shit out that they already know that isn't going to work on season. That they're going to artificially stretch that shit out.
Well, that's like with the leveling. It's like clearly they were like, look, people were playing. I'm sure the season was probably like after the first 3 weeks. I imagine there was a massive drop off on most seasons because by then you could pretty much have what you needed.
Yeah.
And then also what they would do is by 3 weeks into the season, they'd start telling you what they're going to do next season. And usually a lot of times, whatever they did next season completely negated what you were doing this season. So you would say,
why am I playing?
Why am I fucking playing?
Yeah. Which when the hamster realizes he's on the hamster wheel.
Yep. And that's what they were bad about doing. The same thing was, that's why we didn't play season 5. It's because, well, shit, season 6 is coming out in October and season 5 started in like August. So it was like, none of this shit's gonna fucking matter.
Hell, they even bumped the game up faster because they were ready to go. They wanted that shit out.
Yeah, funny thing about that, it actually like they had to delay it another day than the day it actually came out because they were having trouble with it. I didn't know if you saw that or not.
I didn't see that. So you talking about they didn't make launch day?
They didn't make they might have made launch date by like midnight. It might have came out by midnight on that Tuesday.
Oh, I didn't hear people bitching at all about that. But
well, what it was they scaled. Originally, they were like, look, on the West Coast, it's going to come out at 7 o'clock at night or something like that, and on the East Coast, it's going to come out at like 9 o'clock at night. And they had it staggered for like not each time zone, but most of the time zones in the world.
Yeah.
And as the day started going, they said, we're having trouble, we're pushing it back. We're having trouble. So by the time it was supposed to come out on the East Coast, it still wasn't out yet, more or less. So what they did was they're like, we're working on it, and it's going to get released everywhere at the same time. And I don't know if it came out like by midnight that night, because I was like, well, I'm not staying up to find out. But by the next day, it was out. But it was just so blizzard to be like, we can't.
Yeah, well, people put off for work for these things. And
so, well, that's what people were bitching about. It's like, I took off work and I can't even play it until the next day. And it's like, well, that's what happens when you take off work to play a game.
Well, yeah, but you set your mind to it because, hell, people got jobs, but they want you to damn regrind your fucking character, and they try.
Yeah, man, you gotta regrind it.
Yeah. I'm really apathetic about fucking just making a brand new character again in that game. So.
Well, here's another thing that they have not talked about, and everybody's assuming probably this is how it's going to work with Paragon levels, is that whatever you get, you will just carry over. So, like, you assume kind of in next season, when season 7 starts next year, that once you start a new character on that season, once you get up to level 50, 60, whatever, that you will have access to all the Paragon levels that you earned in the previous season. But they haven't confirmed that yet.
They're going to see what they can get away with.
They're going to see what they get away with, because I'm telling you right now, if it's like, look, if I have to get to level 300 and it's a one-time thing and I never have to do that again, fine, that's not a big deal. If I'd had to do it every freaking season, it'd be like, I'm not playing season anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you would just stop immediately. Why would you bother? The ruins are interesting though, because can
you wear a wind as a wizard? Is that something you do?
Not really, but basically what you can do is you have to have two, and there's a ritual one and a invocation one, and basically how it works is like for instance they have offerings, and the first one gives you offerings, and then when you reach whatever the second one requires of the offering, it does an action. Like it could be as simple as you walk 5 meters and you gain 50 of the offering things. So every time you walk 5 meters, you get 50 offering. And on the second one, you could have like cast a sorcerer's meteor. So it would, and that could be
every
like
50 foot you cast a meteor.
Basically, give or take.
Okay.
Or if you had it where every time you hit an attack that has a cooldown, it gives you so much offering. And if you did that, it could do like the vortex druid thing or something, or the sorceress it would change your dash to a sorceress's teleport. So that's kind of interesting, because it means you can kind of do a lot of interesting things. That there's a lot of different ways to do different things, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I like the idea of that. It's not exactly great of like what the payoff is, but it's an interesting idea. And then you can only wear 2 ruin words per character.
Yeah, I figured they would, because otherwise every down you just have stacked ruin words, and then
you just stack.
Of course, the situation is, I'm sure there's just 2 that is. They might have tried to balance. There's just 2 that is the best, and so everybody runs the same 2.
Not really, because it depends on the character. Like for instance, my first character I made this season was a Necro, and the good thing is there's a lot of different varieties in the characters now. There's like 2 or 3 good wizard builds, 2 or 3 good Necro builds. I think there's like 1 or 2 good barbarian builds. So he really got the shit this season.
He deserved it.
Druids always kind of get shit on. Yeah. But like one of the Necro builds was seeing how many times you could cast Blood Nova, but you didn't want to make Blood Nova too expensive level wise.
Okay.
Like resource wise. So one of the cool ruin words is it would cast a thing that would raise all skill levels by 3 points for like 7 seconds every time you did whatever you had in junction with it. But on that build, you didn't want to do that, because if you raise those levels 3 levels, that made them cost more. So there's a lot of things that you kind of, it depends on the character. But then that brings us to the characters of the season. There is
just one character.
There's just one character.
Yeah, so I know this.
He is fucking broken as shit. He was super broken early on, which I kind of suspected, because they were only they kept like, oh, Spiritborn. And early on, he was so broken. He had an evade build where he just evaded through everything, and everything died immediately. That they had to nerf it within like the first week or 2. But even then, all his other builds are like still fucking broken, to the point where most of the characters are balanced, except for they're all greatly outnumbered by
him. Okay. I'm kind of back and forth on this, because a lot of times when they'll, and this isn't just Blizzard, but I think that when the Druid and Assassin came out on Diablo 2, while on paper they look like they're good, it's like, oh, he's gonna have, Assassin's got lifesteal built in. Oh, you don't have to find a goodie. It's like, no, they were bad characters.
Oh, they're terrible. She couldn't take a hit for shit. Yeah. And the Druid was probably the worst character ever. Even when there was good versions of him, he still sucked.
And then Street Fighter, Capcom would often undertune their fresh launch character. It just would be shit. So I understand why they might have boosted, but they really wanted to, I guess, for you to feel like you're valuable. But if you're somebody like me who just like, I am Wizard, this is who I am, this is my identity, I'm not being any fucking other character, you get pissed the fuck off. You get mad.
Yeah. Well, that's like I always bounce between wizards and rogues. That's just my two go-tos. Like Will's is always barbarians, and the only decent barbarian build really right now is like a throw barbarian. And sometimes they'll come out with builds that just don't suit you.
Yeah.
Kind of like with the rogue, there was a couple of those rogue builds where I'm like, I don't really want to be a trap rogue. I want to be able to shoot a fucking bow and arrow. It took them a goddamn year to actually make enough skills on that where you could actually shoot a bow and arrow worth a damn. Because most of them were like twisty blades. Like right now, dances with knives, which is
Dances with knives.
That's exactly what it is. It's dances with knives, and you know what it is? All it is a fucking rogue being a damn whirlwind barbarian.
But knives coming out, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And it's like I was so happy when they made like Heartseeker good, because then it was like, oh, I can actually shoot stuff from a distance and play like a rogue. But it's kind of like that. Every season has their like flavors of the month. They kind of carried a couple of them over from season 5. You could tell like they were like, we're not going to change too much on some of these.
Yeah.
But they're all pretty balanced except for the other ones like Jesus compared to the other ones running around.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't care about Green Monk at all.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw him. And I'll probably make one eventually, but I'm like, everybody's gonna have one the first season, so it's like, whatever.
Yeah. You also feel like you're all the same character, using the same build, doing the same thing, and
they're all running around on Battle Cat,
all instantly killing one thing at the same time. So, what do you feel overall? Are you happy with it? Because
like
if
some
you're
of the
happy with
stuff-
it, they're going to fuck it up, and if it's fucked up, they're going to fix it and then fuck it up. That's my
yeah, exactly. It's fucked up right now. It really is. The good thing is they have been doing mid-season patches every season, and usually whatever they fuck up in the season, they'll kind of half straighten out in the mid-season patch.
Yeah.
But the downfall to that is mid-season patch means you're halfway to another season, so it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah. That's well. I've sat there, and even when I wasn't playing, I've got like a damn 150 hours. It ain't like I ain't played it. I've just only played certain seasons. But I would watch it. I'd watch the 3 guys sitting at the couch or whatever it is. This is how I experienced Diablo 4, is them fucking apologizing for the latest fuck up.
That's pretty much about it.
Yeah, and but it's just got to the point where whatever they do, they're just going to change. And I don't. I can't remember if it was when it was talking about season 5, and this is the one where they were going to just revert or get into the part where they're just going to revert everything to Diablo 3. I know for a fact that they were probably given specific instructions not to mention Diablo 3 until chat mentions it. And so when chat mentions it, they can start talking about how Diablo 3, how the pit was just a greater rift.
That's all it is.
And how the levels are, all going to be based up. Everything's going to go up with you, and your torment shit or whatever they're calling it it's all the exact same. As they wouldn't acknowledge that Diablo 3 existed, and then once they kind of pissed off the Diablo 2 players, it's like now we're just going to make Diablo 3 with better graphics and probably worse gameplay. That's what I think is going on.
It's starting to. That's basically kind of out. This season, it's so funny because they spent like the past year, every season, they would be like, one of their key things they would focus on is we don't want leveling to feel like a chore. We don't want it to feel like a job. And in this season, it's like, this shit feels like a fucking full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, the casual player is not going to play it, and they're not going to do that,
Yeah. And so do you have all 5 of your glyphs?
On
you
the
get
character.
5 glyphs, like in your Paragon, you get 5 glyphs, 1 per board, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
So did you able to get all 5?
Yeah, I got all 5, but
it's everything else is
out.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, when you got to get them to 45 just to make the thing bigger. 15 was one of those like, oh man, I can do 5 or 6 nightmare dungeons. I can get one up to 15. That's no big.
When we were doing I don't fucking know what they're called. They were maxed out for what they could be, and you were carrying us. It was like, dude, it was like 3 or 4 runs, and we had it.
Exactly.
Whip. And
this is like 3 or 4 runs. I mean, you'll get some levels off of them, but not up to level 45, and you sure as shit ain't gonna get them up to level 100.
Yeah.
It's just it's becoming they kind of turned it into a grind fest. It very much feels like 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
In Diablo 3, I don't know how much of the recent seasons you played, but I haven't played like in this past year. I played a year before last. In Diablo 3, I know what most people play. I guess the fastest way to play is an expert and then switch to torment at a certain level. It's like I just started torment 1, but still within 4 or 5 hours, you're 70. You're ready to go. They give you your set, and I do this here too. They give it might not be a straight up set, but they give you something. And then honestly, when playing with your buddies for 2 weeks, you've got everything. Now you might not have ancient everything or whatever the red tier item of everything is, but your build's working. Whatever the hell you was looking to do, you're able to do to some format. Now you might not be fucking ranked 1 of the grinds or whatever the hell it is, but you're ready to go. And now when you played Diablo 4, it was like, first of all, I think the building up of the levels is all fucked up. For one thing, they have to give you the Paragon points, so you're like starting off. They want you to start off with your regular down Firebolt and your Bash or whatever the hell it is. It's like, no, you start off with a bunch of shit. And then if they took it away from the players, like, go get the Lilith shrines, like, fuck you, I'm not playing this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're starting off almost skewed, but you still feel weak as hell, or you feel like your character's shitty, and you were trying to get rid of that resource generator stuff. Like, you normally have to start with your Fireball, and it's as soon as I get to them Incinerate, even though Incinerate wasn't even that good of a skill, I'll just use it so I can just get rid of that fucking Fireball. And then but it still would take forever, and it didn't feel good, and you're just in a hurry to try to get to 100 or something so you can get something going. And it's just, it doesn't feel as good as the way Diablo 3 does. Especially, I mean, at least at the start. I think Diablo 3 does very good when you start a new character to get him going. Every damn level, shit's unlocking. You feel like you're getting stuff done. But this whole, like, I mean, I must have grinded. I know I was able to do it faster, but in Season 4, I worked my ass off to get to 100. I think I had a couple days off, and I was doing like fucking 14-hour days because I wanted my character to get up because I wasn't able to get up before, because when I played the vanilla launch, I played like 60 hours, and then I was only like level 65 or some shit like that, and
I remember you had none of the renown points at all, which that's for like us. It's like, well, we did them all like over the first couple of seasons, but then it's like, when you're like, I want to do it all at one time, oh god.
Me and Eddie pulled up the interactive maps, and I don't know how many hours it took. It took a whole long time to go through, and we got all of those Lilith shrines and whatever we needed to do so I could at least get my character my starting level could at least match other people's starting level, if that means anything.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I'll put it to you this way: this season, it's like none of the gear you get matters until you reach like level 50, 60, because that's when you start getting the 750 items. Like, that's your bare minimum of a 750 power item. So basically, like, I would not even give a shit what skill I was using, what freaking gear I had, or anything until I got to level 60, because you could just bum around with bullshit that you just picked up off the ground, like running around in hell ties with people doing they had this summon thing. They started a couple of seasons ago where you could summon up in Helltide this like, flying demon chick, whatever. You just fucking go there and you just hang out and you jump on the horse and you try not to take too many damn fucking hits. Yeah, and then you just get as many levels you fucking can as fast as you can. It's just a race to get to like level 60 now. As before, it was a race to level 100. Just get there. Nothing matters before that, and you just be like, oh, well, now I can actually start building my character.
That's the problem with those item power level things. It's like, oh, here, you could get a damn Stone of Jordan, but it's only level 2. It's like, well, my level 2 Stone of Jordan is fucking useless. I need to get it to level whatever the hell the maximum thing is.
Yep, whatever exactly.
You're frantically trying to get there, and it doesn't feel good, and it takes too damn long. Now they've got to the point where you just sit on the matron, and I don't even think that was the most optimal way to play. It
wasn't. It was just the easiest if you couldn't kill anything.
Yeah. But they take so much shit out, or they abandon shit.
Oh yeah.
When I played the game when it came out, they had the giant open world, but they haven't really, besides the hell tides, which I like. I think that's the best part of the game. They haven't really utilized this giant world they made. This open world really exists for the campaign, which people just blast through. And I heard it's like 3 hours if you really blast on the new one.
It might have been 3 hours if you walked through it.
You got through faster than that.
I'm fairly certain I think I played it like 30, 40 minutes, and I was like probably over halfway through. I mean, you just blast through the shit.
They don't make you do the regular campaign again, right?
Nope.
You
just go once you make another character, you can skip that one too.
Okay.
The whole point is to make new characters and skip the fucking campaign. Just fucking nobody's ever going to play it again. That's why I couldn't remember what the fucking last boss was in the expansion pack, because we played it, beat it, and it was like never fucking go back to it. Unless there's something you can summon, like you'll never go back to that fight. You'll never remember. It won't matter.
Yeah. Well, me and Eddie, we said, fuck it. I had been wanting to play Path of Exile, so I played through that. And then I see what they're trying to do with seasons that they're fucking up on. Because when you play into Path of Exile, like, first off, when you play through the campaign, they do these little seasonal side pieces that they're trying to introduce to stuff they've added through the seasons. And there must be like a fucking dozen different mechanics. And you don't have to engage with all of them. But they'll have these crazy things. So the favorite one I've done, I don't even know, it's not even the most optimal one. It's called Heist, where you go to a different place and you talk to these little thief guys, and you're running them through a level, and you're supposed to get a MacGuffin at the end. It's like in a shiny case, like you're like a thief, and then there's a little bit of resistance going to it, but once you get that MacGuffin, the whole goddamn place locks down and shit comes out everywhere, and it gets to the point where either you're a super badass that can annihilate all the content, or you're hauling your ass out, and you need to plan your escape route in advance, and you need to plan what items you're going to get when you get out. And then when you open stuff, they would have pretty damn good shit there. And I'm playing through this, and you're going through, and you're the little people that come with you, you're giving them special abilities, like they might be able to open up shit, or they might be able to damn isolate stuff. And I'm like, this is fucking cool, a cool ass mechanic. And it's still the reality is you're still just blasting through waves of monsters, but they've added enough shit that it feels new.
It doesn't feel like you're doing it.
It feels new and unique. They also had, you have to get the items outside in order to get them. But what me and Eddie learned out, is because we suck, is that you halfway through you could take out the items you got. I would give them to Eddie. Eddie would go back out the front door. You take them out the front door, and then they takes the lock off of them, and then, like, that's our toys. And so we only had to really worry about getting the MacGuffin. And so we would go and we would hit up, and then there was ways that you can manipulate what items drop out. So if you're trying to farm for all the materials that Path of Exile wants you to use, you could use that to kind of concentrate on things. And I'm seeing this shit. I'm like, Blizzard is incapable of doing something like this. They have no idea. Exactly. They're seeing it. They're trying to copy stuff like this, but they're not even close. And then when it doesn't work, because they didn't put enough effort or even play it, they just take it out. And so you had a whole year where they're putting shit in and taking it out, and then changing the game into Diablo 3. And so they don't have anything that's really substantial, or they nerf stuff. It's like, here's dungeons. We're going to make you do dungeons. Oh, wait, they're boring. We're going to get some of the boring shit out of it. Like the little shit, and you get the 2 switches in the middle with the spikes or whatever. Yeah. They just got rid of them. They got rid of the part where you're having to, you would put, I think they made the shit where you're putting rocks on and fucking on pedestals, make that shit a little bit easier. Or they got rid of that. And then they're like, well, you know what? We don't even want you to do dungeons.
It's like, we'll give you a better option.
We're going to make, you can do pits instead. You can do rifts. But the content's still there, but it is so obsolete that no one's going to run it. I'm sitting there, I'm seeing so much stuff, and Eddie's like, what does this do? And I'm like, I don't know what this shit does, Eddie. You'd hardly have to read a damn guide to figure out what we could do, but there's hours and hours of content here. Blizzard will never have that. And what I've heard, I don't have any source, they were going to do an expansion a year. That was the plan. We all heard this shit. We knew that as soon as they started working on the expansion immediately, and they got it out pretty damn fast, honestly, compared to old Blizzard.
Oh yeah.
But the last time, I thought one of the fancy guys was talking about. It's like, oh, we don't have plans for expansion in a year. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean, like, what? No, that's what you had said. And now I'm thinking they're only going to do one more. And then
Well,
that's
that
it.
was the thing. Is like there's a lot of stuff missing from Diablo 4 that was kind of standards in Diablo 2 and 3, like set items. Set items aren't there.
Yeah.
Are you going to actually have a Mephisto fight? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Right, at this point, you're going to have to do Mephisto and Diablo at the very minimum in your next expansion.
Exactly. It's one of those, and I'm sitting here thinking like they're going to have to do one of these a year because in 2 years ain't nobody going to be playing this shit. Or as much as I'm sure there'll still be people playing it, like people still play Diablo 2. But you know what I mean? It's going to be drastically dropped off because the attention span of gamers is not what it was back, in the early 2000s when we played Diablo 2 for like 10 to 14 years straight. Because
it's very
crazy.
helpful when you're the only guy on the block. Now there's 10 zillion ones. And
exactly, and there'll be something else like right around the corner. So it's like, and there you could almost count like mini the seasons as mini expansions because we'll add something here, add something there. But it's one of those like it seems like you're gonna have to do at least one more to like. And how long are people gonna keep playing? Like in 2 to 3 years, I don't see people playing it as much.
They haven't. I mean, they did add this new skills or whatever, but I don't think they've added enough for compared to say like Reaper of Souls or Order of Destruction.
No, it's like it was game changing, but nothing. Majority of it was just like you patching the regular game.
Yeah.
I mean, it added.
I think those skills are in there for. You don't need the damn new thing to get like the new skills. I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Here's the weird thing: is you do need the expansion pack for the ruins and for the new character. So anybody who's doesn't have the expansion pack will not be able to freaking craft mythic uniques anymore because there'll be no ruins to do it with. So it's they
a little bit of swerve there.
Yeah. See, originally they said, oh, if you don't buy the expansion, like you're not missing out on anything. You can still play Diablo 4 regular, and you won't miss anything. But then it's like, well, wait a minute. If there's no ruins in that one, and you got to have ruins to make. I guess you ain't fucking crafting this shit no more.
Yeah.
So unless they've made like it where, in regular Diablo you don't need the ruins to do it, which I doubt they put that much effort into it. That's kind of the thing. I mean, because I'm trying to remember what all was in Reaper of Souls. Is that when they introduced set weapons or set items? I think it was.
But they were the big dick sets weren't in the vanilla release. That was added seasons. They started with the Witch Doctor first. That's where I became. Now I remember vividly. I became the Wizard Dog because I was as strong as one of the Witch Doctor's dogs.
Yeah.
Hey man, I just don't. It's like even if I've got no urge to get it at all. I thought that I was going to be missing it, and I haven't. I just I was able to replace it so easily because there's so many other live servicey roundabout play with your buddies games, and Diablo should be the first one you think of, but it's to the point right now it's not. I don't know. I was hyped to play. I played about 200 hours of freaking Path of Exile 1. Pretty good. I'm done. I'm effectively done with it. It's fun. It has great music, pretty good gameplay. It's still janky from like graphics and stuff. I'm assuming that the next one's gonna fix, but they've now delayed it, and they've got some stupid shit going on, where it sounds like they want you to. It almost sounds like they want to make it the first release a paid beta of Path of Exile 2. That is not what they need to do. They're not going to make their release date. It's supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out on the 15th of November. I was like, that would have been perfect. Even if Diablo 4 would have been great, people would have still went through the content. And if they wanted more, action RPG stuff, then you just switch the Path of Exile 2. But I don't think they're ready. It doesn't sound like they're ready. They were originally supposed to have all 6 of the acts ready to go, and the maps. The maps is what you do in the post game. But it doesn't sound like they're only gonna have 3, so it's gonna be more like the original release. And so I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get But so me and Eddie, I'm like, I've been looking at this part, this Descendant game, and so that's what me and Eddie been playing. Been having a whole lot of fun. It's kind of like Resident Evil and Castlevania HD. Resident Evil Revelations, the raid mode, and so we've been playing the hell out of that. And so, this is Diablo expansion. Eddie's like, yeah, I ain't got time right now. Like, well, even if we'd have played launch, I know for a fact that they were just going to change all of the gameplay anyway. So if we liked it, they would have changed it.
Yep.
If we hated it, they would also change it. And so it feels like it's schizophrenic when I play.
It's like one of those things. If I was going to suggest anybody, be like, wait till season 7 to see what they say.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, it's like, one, I bet you the Spiritborn is not going to be like leaps and bounds ahead of everybody in season 7. They'll probably scale back the leveling of it's funny. Like I said, they spent a whole year talking about we don't want this to seem like a chore, and then it's like we made it a really fucking long chore. So only for launch. And as soon as they're done with that, they're gonna speed that shit up. It's a 100% chance they're gonna speed it up. Oh yeah. So that's the whole point. The whole point before is like get to fucking max level as fast as possible, and then that's when you start actually looking for your shit and figure out what type of build you're going to do. Yeah. See, on Path to Exile 1, they've still to this day made people do the campaign, so people found ways to turn that 30-hour campaign into like fucking 7 or 8. They speed through that shit like crackheads. But me and Eddie that was the first time we ever did it. I enjoyed it. But I just they've starting to let go people from the Battle.net team that worked on this one. It was the largest Battle.net team. It's bigger than World of Warcraft team. It's worked on Diablo 4 for whatever the fuck they're doing. I don't know. I think it's a lot of it's the art. I'm guessing the art and stuff is really good. It's got hand-drawn art, man. Yeah. Hand-drawn sprites. They'll just let the robots do it. It really depends on what the fucking Microsoft's going to do, because they're going to keep dropping down people. And then they're going to turn them all into contract workers, and then no one's even going to know how to make the game anymore. They're not going to know the password to get into to fucking start working on the damn workstations. But the way I had originally seen it, I thought that they were going to have to come up with something to make a big advantage of that giant open world, and instead they ignored it. Oh, yeah, they completely ignored it. Because I put it to you this way. When you're doing like Helltides and the Helltide goes away, you don't hang around in that area. You just go find something else to do. And so like the way how cool Skullglen looks like is that kind of like, I don't know, Ireland type little setup. It looks so cool. But whenever you're actually there, it's because of the blood tide, fucking blood and reds all over the damn screen. Yeah. And then as soon as it's gone, what the fuck are we doing here? Let's leave. Everything's way easier to kill, and there's no point. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it was kind of one of those things. It's like it came out, and it was just. You thought I was going to get it, didn't you? No, I didn't think you were going to get it. No, I was pissed. I remember when you played before earlier in the year in that season 4 or whatever it was, and I'm like, yeah, Steven's not getting this expansion. He's like, I don't want to do any more of this shit. When I played the fucking, you didn't even play it, but I played, what was it, the PTR, and they're doing all of the same shit that had pissed people off back in season 1, and I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? I went through, you had to get some dummy, and you had to do a bunch of menial tasks. And then you're having to kind of care bear this guy back and forth for act. There's a lot of damn sections they added, like story mission type shit. And then I'm sitting there running this guy through all this crap, and then I'm looking at him, he's gone. I'm like, where the fuck did he go? And I go back, and he's like fucking 40 screens back, sitting there waiting for me to do something. Waiting for you to talk to him. I'm like, bro, we were blasting, getting through this shit so I could fight the council. I had to go all the way the fuck back to do it. And then when I get to the council, I do the council meeting, and then I fight them all, and my character's pretty spec'd up, and so we go all the way through, and I can't even remotely afford one of the damn treasure chests that they let me have. But I open up one, I get one legendary ring. I'm like, what the fuck y'all doing? I just spent fucking 30 minutes doing this. They changed that up. Of course they had to change it. They want people to play the damn game. Yeah. And I remember last season we were playing it, and you could do like you had different council levels you could do. I remember you could do 7, but it took so damn long that you were better off doing like 5 or 6 because like the payoff wasn't any better, and you could do it so much faster. Now what they do is they have them in waves. So there's like a wave 4, 6, 8, 10, and 10 takes the longest, but it gets you the most of the the pickup things or whatever.
Yeah.
But it still takes a minute. And it's like you do one and you're like, I'm good. I don't need to do another one right now, because it's just how fast can you clear the screen is all it is in a tight room.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're at a little bit of hour. I'm ready to call it. But hey, man, they're excited for you to buy the next Battle Cat. Okay, you're gonna get a Grayskull a Castle Grayskull stronghold that you can customize.
As long as that's in there, that'd be great.
You're done. You're like gonna get it.
Oh yeah, it's so funny that like as soon as the pre-order came out and they're like, oh we got this it's like this fucking Battle Cat. Everybody knows this Battle Cat, and immediately after that pre-order came out, everybody you saw in the game was riding fucking Battle Cat. Like you knew damn well everybody just
which means they bought it. You can look and see the sales, physically see the people have already bought it months before this shit's out.
Yep.
And that way you had something to deliver to Microsoft so you can keep your job.
It's like, look what we did, man. All these pre-orders. Which, in honesty, everybody playing it was probably going to pre-order it anyway. You know, it's kind of one of those things like, I mean, me and Gary and Will were all going to get it regardless.
Yeah.
We don't play it. I mean, we play it like Will hadn't played any this season.
So he didn't play the expansion?
He played it for like the first few days or week or so, but he's kind of taking a break. Which I don't blame you. It's one of those like every so many seasons you need to kind of like you get burned out. But me and Gary's been playing it, but also at the same time it's kind of like I think we played season 5, but I think I quit playing after about halfway through season 5 and was like 3 or 4 weeks I'll get the expansion when it comes out, and I think that helps us keep enjoying it because we don't play it nonstop all the time every single day.
Yeah.
It keeps it a little bit more broken up.
When Path of Exile 2 comes out for real, not for whatever they're fucking doing, try to get those dinglings to play something different. They'll realize that, wait a minute.
Why are we playing this? Because I liked the first Path of Exile. It was fun.
Yeah. Dude, I had a blast. We got to it was too hard to do, but we had gotten to the end game. We had gotten there. We weren't able to kill the pinnacle bosses, but it was fun. And I think from a controls perspective, I'm really curious about that WSAD because it looks like they're turning that shit into fucking like an action RPG with rolling and invincibility frames, a whole damn shebang, and WSAD movement. That just seems real cool to me. One of them guys is like he has guns. It's just the only way I can say it. He has fucking guns and he can walk back and forth and shoot. At the same time he moves around, and that's where I think that we're gonna move. Otherwise, you're just kind of clicking the screen and clearing the whole enemies in the screen, and then clicking the next screen.
It sounds like a neat upgrade mechanic, kind of like when they changed up Resident Evil and Resident Evil 4, where it was like, oh, wait a minute, this changes up the whole game.
Yeah, and when you block with your shield, it'll be it's something you physically do, and then you'll be like invincible and stuff on your front side, and you have to worry about your side. There's a lot of stuff like that I think that will help kind of breathe, because it just like you start off and your character sucks and then you get good. It's like, well, then it's like I need something that annihilates the whole screen instantaneously, and then I need to move at 10,000 miles an hour, and this seems to be the format that it doesn't matter what class you are, this is where it is. And if your character can't do that, then you might as well quit because you suck. But we'll see. I think that for the most part people are still much happier with Diablo now than say season 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it took them a whole year to kind of get their bearings straight, and then they come out with this, and you're like, you ain't got that much shit straight.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll call it here. Let's see. We have to get some games going on. You got to try that First Descendant, man. If you want some gotcha crack, I can't stop playing that shit.
I have to try it out.
Yeah. I know you like the Resident Evil raid mode. It's vastly superior to that, but you're basically waifus collecting guns is what you're doing, and sometimes in dumbass ways, but that's the way it goes. But this is the first time we tried to live stream, and we got a couple comments from Mr. Zucchini, but it wasn't like any kind of questions or anything like that. So we're going to call it from here. Thanks for watching, guys.